We're in a series right now, and as far as our teaching time goes, walking through Advent, talking about what Advent means. Really, this waiting for the celebration of the birth of Jesus. And I think it's so appropriate, and the timing is so appropriate. And we just sort of introduced the whole series just with this idea of waiting. Was there waiting in the Bible? Did people wait? What was that waiting like? Was the waiting painful at times? And then we said that we'll spend the next 3 weeks leading up to Christmas talking about waiting for peace, waiting for love, and waiting for hope. And here's what we really landed with last Sunday, just to tee it off. That I think is going to be critical for us carry through our entire time this month is it's remembering that God is always working in the waiting. He's always working in the waiting. Like the waiting is never a mistake. The waiting is never by accident. He's always working for His purposes and for His time in the waiting. And so this morning we come to this place of waiting for peace. And we can all agree there's a basic understanding that everyone wants peace, right? Like everyone longs for peace. Peace is one of those things that it's not just like, give it to me when it's necessary, but it's like, no, just bathe me in it. Just lather me in it. Like I want to live with peace. I want peace. I need peace. And we didn't even plan it this way, but the last 2 youth nights, we teed up 2 conversations. The first one 2 weeks ago was about worry. And we just asked the question, like, what are some of the things that you worry about? Like, what creates a little bit of this anxiousness? It stirs up a little bit of anxiety in your life. And the students great discussion on that. And then we followed that up last Sunday night with, what are you afraid of? What are some of the fears in your life? And of course, ultimately taking that to this place of like, what would it be like to live in these things with peace? Not what would it be like if these things were gone, but what would it be like to live with peace in the midst of these things? And so when we say we want peace, what are we saying? We're really saying we want the difficulty to be over, right? Like, I don't want to be in this anymore. Make this end. Get rid of this. I want it to be over. But the Bible would tell us that's a misunderstanding of what peace is. Like, we tend to think that peace is only experienced when our difficult times come to an end. But peace is finding calm in the midst of the difficulty, not just when it's over. Right? And so, yes, don't get me wrong. Like, there's definitely peace when it's over. Like, no, listen. Like, this thing that I'm going through right now, like, I'm going to tell you something. When it's over, it's going to be okay. But until then, it's really hard. It's really painful. I feel like I'm getting my teeth kicked in. That's fair. I acknowledge that. When it's over, there's definitely that sense of peace. But I want to take us a layer deeper into what biblical peace looks like for the follower of Jesus. And it's not just waiting for the peace, for the difficulty to be over, but it's waiting for finding the peace in the midst of the difficulty. And so if you have your Bible, turn to Mark chapter 4. That's where we're going to be this morning. Just hang tight there. There's a Bible under the seat in front of you or under you. Either way, there's Bibles everywhere. Grab one. Mark chapter 4 is where we'll be. And here's the biggest thing that I want you to take away this morning. If you're writing anything down, or you're not writing things down, but you'll write this one thing down because it's worth writing down, okay? It's that our peace isn't in the power of our circumstances. Our peace is not in the power of our circumstances. Our peace is in the person of Jesus. Okay? Our peace is not in the power of our circumstances. Our peace is in the person of Jesus. Let me just say something about that. Like what happens when we put all of our hope for peace in the power of our circumstances? I'm going to tell you that we will never fully experience peace, because then there's another circumstance and another circumstance and another circumstance and another circumstance, and life's just going to come at us a million miles an hour, and then there's going to be another thing. And then just the second that you go like, hey, I just got over this thing, like, peace, I dare you to see what happens next, right? What are you longing for? More peace. Like, it's not in the power of our circumstances. And then what do? We just labor. Like, we work so hard to change these things, maneuver these things, all so that we can position ourselves to experience more peace in our life. All the while, what happens in the end? We become more anxious, we worry to the max, and it'll kill us. Our peace is not in the power of our circumstances. Our peace is in the person of Jesus. Now, let me say something about that for a second. It's looking to who Jesus is for peace. Not just looking to Him to bring peace. And there's the shift. There's where we've got to land in our time this morning. So often we look to Jesus and we say, bring me peace. I need some of that peace. That's as if it's like a tool in His tool belt or like that He can just kind of hand out and distribute. And He can. But Jesus is peace. That's where we got to land. See, we detach the two and we go, here's Jesus, and man, if I'm good enough, maybe if I go on Sunday, maybe if I sing a little extra loud, maybe I'll get some of that peace that He dishes out, right? And I'm going, no, Jesus is peace. Like, you want some of the peace that Jesus dishes out? He is what He dishes out. He is the embodiment. So you go like, no, I'm still having a hard time. Okay, peace equals Jesus. Jesus equals peace. They are the same. Like, that's where we've got to go, right? I love this in Ephesians 2, 13 and 14. It says, but now in Christ Jesus, you who were once far off, don't nobody get arrogant and be like, no, but I haven't been. I've been awesome this whole time. No. You were once far off. Trust me, you were once far off. But you have been brought near by the blood of Jesus Christ. Verse 14, for He Himself is our peace. Could it be any clearer than that? And so I want to take us to this passage in Mark 4. I believe it's an absolute home run passage this morning, one that I believe is quite possibly one of the clearest pictures of the powerful peace of Jesus. And so kind of let me set the stage here for us. It's at the very beginning of Mark's gospel, and Mark just jumps right in. Jesus is born, boom, like we're in it. He's tempted, He's in ministry, He's healing people, He's sharing the kingdom with people. And then He's being followed. He heals many. He's preaching like crazy. He heals more. He calls disciples. Who thought that was a good idea? And then we come to this place where He's tired and He's weary. And if we just read some of the paragraphs and chapters right up to this, you would be like, oh, it makes sense where we're about to land. He is tired. It's been a long day of ministry for Jesus. And then we come to chapter 4, verse 35. It says, on that day, that tiring day, that long day of ministry, that day, right? On that day, when evening had come, He said to them, would have been His disciples, He said, let us go across to the other side. And leaving the crowd, they took Him with them in the boat, just as He was, and other boats were with Him. Verse 37, and a great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat, so that the boat was already filling. Now, let me just kind of paint this picture for us here. Like, this is, because we didn't go back even further to kind of see where they were. So this is, right, modern day Israel, Sea of Galilee. The sea is not like a vast ocean. It's a giant lake, but it's called the Sea of Galilee, okay? And so the sea is about 600 feet below sea level, and it's surrounded by mountains on all sides, but the one side then where it turns into the Jordan River, and it goes through the Jordan River Valley, and it flows into the Dead Sea. And so based on geographically where this was located, and I've been there several times, like, winds can be vicious on the Sea of Galilee. And then we kind of just go like, but that's just crazy, because I've always wondered, and I hear people ask this question, I think it's a fair question. We're going like, it's, and you'll see a picture of it, right? You go like, I don't understand how like a lake can produce waves so big that these boys would be freaking out the boat's going to flip over. Right? And you gotta, and we see pictures, right? Like you'll see pictures or like old paintings, and it'll be like some giant squid coming out of the ocean, waves just booming, and like this giant ship's just about to get wrecked, right? And you're just like, I don't know how that can happen right there on the sea. It doesn't make sense. And that would be a fair thing to say, right? But we're not talking about the Sea of Galilee and the windstorm that's going to capsize a cruise ship. Like picture like a glorified rowboat with a sail on it. It was really small. You can actually go, they've pulled out from the Sea of Galilee a first century fishing boat. And it's small. Like just a couple of us would fit in the darn thing. And then they just put a stick up in the middle and there's a sail. And the wind would come and it would get you to the other side of the sea. It was 5 miles across from one side to the other. So it wasn't no slouch of a lake, right? 5 miles across from one side to the other, and they're in this tiny boat, and here comes this storm, and maybe the waves were just big enough to bring some water into the boat, and they're looking around because there's an entourage where it says other boats went with them, and so they're looking around, and they're freaking out. Like for some of us, if not all of us, like isn't that a picture of some of the most unpleasant seasons in our lives? Anyone? Like you've been there? Like tiny boat, big storm, long ways to go? You've either been in that storm, you are in that storm, or you're going to be in that storm in a tiny boat with a little sail and a long ways to go. And if I'm a guessing guy and I'm half decent at it, I'm just going to venture to say it's probably a version of all three. This idea of a sailboat has always been really powerful for me, and it really kind of showed its face early on in us starting this church. It was before we were even in this building. We were actually in this little clubhouse behind us. There was maybe 20 to 30 of us who were meeting over there, and things were moving really fast, and we knew that God had called us to start this church. This would have been about 4 years ago at this point, and we knew that God had called us to start this church, and we'd kind of set a launch date, and we said, hey, up until then, we're going to prepare everybody. Here's kind of our different roles. Here's what our vision is. Let's talk about this. Let's throw some different things around. What are we going to be about? What's going to be different about us in our community? How are we going to serve? What are we going to be known for? All these different things that you talk about with people that are gearing up to start a new church together. And then things were kind of moving really fast, and we set this launch date, and then I just had this nudge in my spirit that said, you're not ready. It's too soon. And then God really just kind of gave me this picture to go to our team one Sunday when we were meeting like Sunday afternoon at 4 or something like that. I don't remember. I just stood up one Sunday and I just said, we're not going to launch the church when we thought we were. The truth was it was going to be, I think, about 8 months later. And it was no small period of time. It wasn't like we're going to wait a few weeks, a little nicer weather. No, we waited and we waited and we waited, and we essentially hit reset on everything, started over and kept going. And I stood in front and I said, does somebody describe a speedboat to me? And everyone just kind of threw it out. We're talking about what a speedboat does, right? And people throw things out like, man, it just goes real fast. Good. It's a good start. What else? Well, it just kind of rides over the top of the waves. You don't have to feel them. Very good. What else? It burns a lot of gas. It's expensive. Very accurate. What else? It doesn't hold as many people maybe as maybe some other kinds of boats. Good. And what else? It leaves a really big wake. The wake hits it maybe does some damage when it hits others. So we got a picture of what a speedboat is like. And I said, tell me what describe a sailboat. What are some of the characteristics of a sailboat? Well, it goes a lot slower. Yeah, sure does. And what else? It feels the waves. It feels every single wave. Yeah. What else? It never really goes in a straight line. That's right. It's this idea in sailing. It's called tack and jibe. It's the idea that the boat is always going towards its destination, but never in the same direction. Right? The idea could simply just be said, it adjusts according to the wind. It holds more people. It doesn't leave as big of a wake. I said, which one would you rather be on? The sailboat. But hold on, you're gonna feel the waves. Yeah. It's gonna take longer to get there. Yeah. It's gonna be complicated, like it's gonna be confusing at times. Yeah, it sure is. But if we're gonna be on a sailboat, then we have to wait. We have to wait. And we felt every wave. We felt every impact, and we felt every gust of wind in that season of waiting, and we believe there was no accident, and God placed us perfectly where we needed to be and when we needed to be there. Because here's the thing, you feel the wind in the middle of the storm, but the wind is required to get to the other side. Right? It's that old saying, like you've probably heard it, right? Like the ship is safe in the harbor, but that's not where the ship was meant to be. And you see, the disciples had no way of knowing it in the moment, but that storm was going to not only be pivotal, but it was going to be necessary for teaching them about the powerful peace of Jesus. And this is true for us. Like the storms are critical to our spiritual development. They are necessary, they are required, they have to happen, which is why they happen. Like in other words, the storms are not accidents, right? Like without the difficulties, without the trials, without the stresses, without the failures, without the pain, etc., we would never grow into what we're to become, because the storms are part of the process. They're part of the process. We don't want them to be a part of the process, do we? We don't like that process, but they are. Like ask anyone who you view as close to God. Like ask like any sort of, whatever you want to call them, a spiritual giant or a spiritual mentor of some kind. Just like, what just makes you awesome? Like, why do I want to be drawn to you? And I guarantee you at some point in their story, they're going to tell you about the difficulties. They're going to tell you about the trials. They're going to tell you how hard it's been. And they're probably also going to tell you that they're fully aware of the reality that it's probably going to continue and happen again. And there will be another one, and there will be another one, and there will be another one, right? It's the whole idea, like we love it. We talk about it in our men's ministry, right? Like iron sharpens iron, right? But we don't realize how violent of a process sharpening iron actually is, right? There's sparks, there's damage that's done. But like it's true with anything, right? Like that, like if you that gold ring that you wear, like it was worn out. It was worn down, beat up, processed the heck out of that thing so that it could become the beautiful thing that you wear, right? Like you want to build muscle, right? Like I don't know anything about that, but ask Greg. He'll tell you all about it, right? Like what do? Like there's a process of tearing and breaking and damaging so that growth can happen in the rebuilding from what was damaged. The wind is necessary to get the boat to the other side. It has to happen. The wind is going to come. The storm is going to be there. I love in John 16:33, Jesus says to his disciples in the upper room, he says, I have said these things to you that in me you may have peace. In me you may have peace. And he says, in the world you will have tribulation, right? So just so nobody gets to be surprised here, it's going to be hard at times. He says, but take heart, I have overcome the world. And we go, well, that's great, Jesus, but you overcame the world. I didn't. He goes, but no, but your peace is in me, and I overcame. All right, and then here's the crazy thing. Like we're so conditioned in our culture, to believe that like if something is hard, if something's painful, if something's inconvenient, if something's like unfair in some ways, then it's just an injustice in our lives. And until it's fixed or made right, there can't be peace. And then it's in the storms that we say things like, if I only had peace, I just want peace. Like I need peace. I hear it all the time. All the time. Oftentimes when I'm counseling people, I'll just start with, what do you want? What do you want? honestly, 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to say, I want peace. I need peace. I don't know how to find it. I don't know where it's at. I don't know how to get there. Where's Jesus in this difficulty? Where's Jesus in this trial? Where's Jesus in my pain? And let's go to verse 38, the first part there. Where's Jesus? It says, but he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. My man, right? He's taking a nap. Right? And I don't have time to get into how beautiful this is of a picture of the incarnation of God, right? Fully God, but fully man. God doesn't need a nap, but Jesus did, right? I don't have time for that sermon, but that's a fun one. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. So you got to get this picture. Everyone's freaking out. Waves are coming. Water's coming in the boat. The mist is hitting Jesus in the face. And he's out cold on a cushion. So while we're freaking out, hear me, Jesus is right there in the boat. We're freaking out, thinking we're absolutely losing control. Everything's unraveling. All my worry, all my fear, all my anxiety. If only peace was with me, and he's in the boat. He didn't go anywhere. We're not waiting for him to just show up, come around the corner. Our first reaction is that he's clueless. He doesn't see the storm or the trial that we're in. But it's actually the opposite. He is there with us in the storm, but he is at peace. He is in peace because he is peace. He's calm. He's finding the time to rest. Right? When do we not rest? Chaos, worry, things aren't going right. There's no rest in that. No, but peace rests in the storm. Keep going. Second part of verse 38. And they woke him and said to him, Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? What an arrogant question, right? Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing? And he awoke, and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. The Greek here literally says, peace, be muzzled. It says, be muzzled, say nothing, do nothing, make no impact, make no move, cause no harm, still, calm, peace. And all 3 Gospels where the story is told in the Bible speak of an immediate calm. He just stands up in the boat and he declares peace. He says, be still. You have to get this. That can't just be the climax of the story. That has to cause something to shift in us. Allow me to do this for a second. Close your eyes. Bow your head. Close your eyes. It's not the end of the sermon. I'm just getting started, y'all. But listen, for real, just a posture of reflection. If that's awkward for you, just look at your shoes. But I want to paint this picture for you because I think it's powerful. It's powerful for me when just saying it, just reading it. It's been a long day. You're following Jesus around. He says, we've got more work to do tomorrow. Let's go and let's get in the boat and we're going to go to the other side. We'll rest when we get there. All right? And you get on the boat, and Jesus is in the boat. He sits down on the cushion there and just kind of closes his eyes. And man, you start paddling. You get a good push off the shore. There's a slight breeze, so you go ahead and put the sail up, knowing that's probably going to help you get to the other side. And you're just going to let the wind do what it does. It's going to take the boat, give it some direction. The wind picks up. Like feel the wind increasing on your skin. Like it goes from a subtle breeze. And you know what that feels like when that wind is changing and you feel it increasing and increasing and increasing. And it builds a bit of an intensity in you. What's going to happen? How bad is this going to get? How hard is the wind going to blow? You just wonder. At first, you're grateful for it because you know that's what it's going to take to move the boat. But then you start getting concerned. The waves pick up. You start feeling the water jumping off of the sea. And it hits you in the arm. It hits you in the face. You start wiping your face. That wasn't rainwater. It was because of the wind. It was so violent now that the water wasn't still. And it's moving the boat, and it's loud because the water is hitting the side of the boat. And then the water starts coming inside the boat, and all of a sudden you feel a sense of panic. It's 5 miles across. You're nowhere near the end. And if the boat sinks, there's a chance you're going to die. You're terrified. You're looking around, you see the other boats. They're terrified. Everyone starts bailing water out of the boats. You're just looking for a bucket. Again, you're doing everything you can, just cupping your hands, scooping the water, just trying to get it out of the boat. But there's one guy in your boat. He's asleep. What in the world? You're kind of mad at him. How's that even possible? Maybe you're jealous. Wish I could sleep in the middle of the storm so I didn't have to feel it or be afraid. Man, wake that guy up. Wake him up. Does he not care? Does he not see this? Does he not feel this? Oh, and he wakes up, kind of looks around. Jesus, what are you doing? Can't you see that we're in the middle of a storm? The wind's blowing, it's howling, the boat's just moving directions. You don't even know which way you're going anymore. And he stands to his feet. And you go, no, you're going to fall. You're going to fall. Stay low. You're holding on to the side. What is he doing? And he turns and he faces the sea. And he says, peace. And he commands it to be still. And in that moment, everything stopped. You don't even know what to think. Should I be more afraid? Should I be at peace? I'm confused. What just happened? He stood up and he told it to stop. And it did. And there's that sense of peace, a sense of calm, certainly some confusion. Peace, be still. Peace, commanded, peace. Calm, commanded, calm. And it happened. You can open your eyes. Jesus is peace. Imagine what happens when he commands it to calm in your life. Verse 40. He said to them, "Why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith?" Quite a rebuke, huh? Why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith? And they were filled with great fear and said to one another, "Who then is this that even the wind and the sea obey him?" Now, if we're not careful, we can kind of see this as a little bit of an oxymoron, a little bit confusing. Excuse me. He says, why are you so afraid? The Greek literally translates that word afraid right there in Mark 4 as cowardly, miserable, or wretched. That's the sense of fear that he's seeing in them. Why are you so afraid? Why are you so cowardly or miserable or wretched? Have you still no faith? Like, what's faith in this moment? You're like, no, I don't have faith. No, faith is still believing that Jesus is still in the boat. Faith is believing that even if he's getting a solid nap in, he's still peace. He's still there. He's still with me. Losing faith is believing that he went overboard a long time ago and I'm all on my own in this. He says, no, where did your faith go? I'm right here. What are you afraid of? And then he says, and they were filled with great fear and said to one another, but here then, so they were filled with great fear. The Greek uses a different word here. It's a word that means awestruck or to revere. They were filled with great awe. Why are you cowardly? What are you afraid of? Where's your faith? I'm still here. And they were filled with great awe and reverence for who Jesus was. And then they asked the question, it's a fair question. Okay, that just happened, right? That just happened. Who then is this that even the wind and the sea obey him? Like, how is it possible that Jesus commands the winds and the waves to stop, and they do? And I love this passage, and I read it all the time, and I'll continue to read it all the time because it's a powerful picture of the peace of Jesus. But it's Colossians 1:16. I'm going to jump around. Just watch it on the screen. But it says, for by him, he's talking about Jesus, for by him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. All things were created through him and for him, and he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. For in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. That's a lot of fullness, isn't it? All the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether on earth or in heaven, making what? Making peace by the blood of his cross. Who commands the winds and the waves to stop and be at peace and be still? Try the one who created them. The one who sustains them. The one who speaks to them and they listen and they obey. That is the powerful peace of Jesus. And so I'll say it again. Our peace is not in the power of our circumstances. Our peace is in the person of Jesus. All right, Pastor, what's this have to do with Advent and Christmas? I'll say it like this. The world only waited for peace until it was born in a manger. And then it waited no more. On Christmas, we remember and we celebrate that the wait for peace is over, that peace has arrived, and that peace is with us because peace is Jesus, and Jesus is peace. I love the prophet Isaiah said in Isaiah 9, verse 6. What did he say when he was anticipating the coming of the Savior, when he was waiting, when he was longing for the arrival of who would be the Savior of the world? He said, for to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. It is who he is. It's not just what he does. And so some of you are in the storm and you're waiting for the storm to end right now in your life before you feel like you can declare peace. But peace is still in the boat with you. Peace is in the middle of the storm with you. Peace is feeling every wave with you. Peace sees you, peace hears you, and all you need to do is declare peace's name. His name is Jesus. And so while we wait for peace, and while the wait for peace in this life is over because of the birth of Jesus, the wait for eternal peace continues until it is satisfied by the return of Jesus. And so in just a couple weeks, we're gonna celebrate that the wait for peace is over. But we still find ourselves waiting. And while we get to live with peace, and while we get to be rescued by peace in the middle of the storm, our longing for the eternal peace, which will come at the return of Jesus or when we meet him, is yet to come. And so we wait. And so we wait. And so if you're here and you don't live with peace through the storms, a lot of us don't. Press forward knowing that Jesus is your peace, that he is the calm for your storm. And if you're here and you know that Jesus is your peace, but the storms are still really hard, press forward with hope. Press forward with hope, knowing that when our wait for the return of Jesus is over, there will be no more storms. There will be no such thing as a storm. There will not be any wind, and peace will be eternal. Would you stand with me?